The problem background of our topic is phonology. Phonology is the sound system of the English language. Phonology is the study of how sound is organized and used in language naturally. Like many languages, English has a variety of pronunciation broad range, both historically and dialect to dialect. But in general, regional dialects of English have very similar phonological systems, although not identical. Our phonological knowledge is not something that can be we access and talk in detail. We often have an intuition about language without know where it come from or how to express it.
As we know, linguistics can be categorized into microlinguistic and macrolinguistic. Microlinguistics is an in-depth view of language and its structure. Microlinguistic does not focus on how a language affects society but centers on its structure by analyzing elements such as phonetics, syntax, and morphology. Therefore, microlinguistics looks at various aspects of particular language and does not give a broad view of how it is acquired or used. Microlinguistics divided into two. They are general microlinguistic and microlinguistic for certain language. Field of study in general microlinguistic there are four. First, phonology. Phonology, which is a branch of microlinguistic that scope discusses the sound of language in terms of its function. Second, morphology. Morphology is a branch of microlinguistic that covers about morphemes and words. Morphology also includes investigating the structure of words, their parts, and the way in which they are formed. Third, syntax. Syntax investigates the structure of phrases, clauses, and sentences. Fourth, semantics. Semantics investigates the meaning of both lexical and grammatical language or contextual.
Definition of phonology. The term phonology comes from the Greek word phon, sound, and logos, knowledge. Phonology is a branch of linguistics that studies the sound of language in general. In everyday life, we will not be separated from the sound of language as means of communication between humans. Phonology is the science that studies, analyzes, and talk about sequences of language sounds. In general, phonology can be divided into two, namely phonemic and phonetic. Phonemic is defined as a branch of phonology which studies the sound of language which functions as a differentiator of meaning. Meanwhile, phonetic is a branch of phonology which studies the sound of language but does not pay attention to whether the sound of the language functions as differentiator of meaning or not. From this explanation, there are fundamental differences regarding phonemic and phonetic.
The next material is Field of Study in Phonology. Field of study in phonology divided into two branches. There are phonetic and phonemic. For the first is phonetic. Phonetic is the study of the sound formation of language. Phonetic is a branch of phonological studies that studies the sound of language without regard whether the sound has a function as a differentiator of meaning or not. Furthermore, phonetics is a science that investigates income, transmission, and acceptance of language sound, and interdisciplinary science of linguistics with physics, anatomy, and psychology. So, phonetic is a branch of science that studies phonology and analyzes the result of the speech sound used in the speaker, without having to pay attention to its function as a differentiator of meaning. The secondly is phonemic. Phonemic is the study of language sound as a differentiator of meaning. Phonemic is also a branch of phonological studies that studies science the sound of language by paying attention to the function of the sound as a difference in meaning. Phonemic is the study of the sound of speech in its function as a differentiator of meaning. The definition of phonemic is the investigation of the phoneme system of a language.
Next is segmental and suprasegmental. In linguistic, it is studied that the phoneme of each language is divided into segmental and suprasegmental phonemes. Segmental phonemes are phonemes that can be analyzed for their existence. It consists of vowels and consonants. Segmental refers to the definition of sound that can be segmented or separated. Suprasegmental phonemes are phonemes that have to exist with segmental phoneme. Symbolizing the segmental element of word sounds is not only how to symbolize the sound of words in the form of writing or letters, but also how to describe the sound of words in the forms of words, phrases, clauses, and sentences about how to cast syllables, how to write words, scientific technical symbols, and etc. Symbolizing the suprasegmental elements of the sound of words concern how to symbolize pressure, tone, duration, and pause. Suprasegmental is something that accompanies the phoneme, which can be in the form of sound pressure or intonation, length short or pitch, and sound vibration that indicate certain emotion. Suprasegmental is an element that accompanies the effects, the sound of language, and not true sounds. And because it is not a true sound, the suprasegmental elements is so named.